All right. Ever heard of a lie that's, well, noble?
It does sound a bit like a contradiction, doesn't it?
That's exactly what we're diving into today. Plato's noble lie.
A fascinating concept, and one that's sparked debate for centuries.
We'll be looking at excerpts from a text that breaks down this idea.
And trust me, it gets pretty wild.
It's wild, but it really makes you think.
What's so intriguing is that Plato truly believed a lie could actually serve a higher purpose.
A lie for good?
Exactly, leading to a just and harmonious society.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but I think we need some context here.
Absolutely, context is key, so let's rewind a bit. Head back to ancient Greece.
To the time of Plato.
Right, what do you know about the setting and the source material?
Well, I know the main source is Plato's famous work, The Republic, right?
You got it.
And in it, he lays out his vision for an ideal society.
An ideal society structured in a very specific way.
Okay, so how does it work?
He divides this ideal society into three distinct classes.
3 classes. Interesting. What are they?
The rulers, the guardians, and the producers.
So each class has a specific role to play.
Precisely. At the top, you have the rulers, the philosopher kings.
The philosopher kings. I like the sound of that.
They're the wisest and most just individuals responsible for governing.
So the brainiacs are in charge. Makes sense to me. Who are the guardians?
The guardians are the brave warriors, protecting the city from threats.
Okay, so they're like the elite soldiers.
Exactly. Upholding justice and keeping everyone safe.
Rulers for wisdom, guardians for protection. That leaves.
The producers.
And what do they do?
They're the backbone of the society, you could say.
The essential workers?
Yes, the craftspeople, farmers, merchants, everyone producing the goods and services for daily life.
Gotcha. So everyone has their designated place. But how did Plato envision this system actually working?
That's where it gets interesting.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Plato believed people were actually born into their roles.
Born into their roles, so no social mobility.
Not in this ideal world.
That seems a bit rigid. How did he explain that?
He used this fascinating metaphor of metals in the soul.
Wait, what? Metal in their souls?
It's a metaphor, of course.
Okay, so not literal metal.
No. But he argued each person is born with a certain type of metal in their soul that determines their place in society.
Okay, I'm following. So what are the metals?
Those with gold in their souls were destined to be rulers, silver meant you were a guardian, and iron or bronze.
Destined you for a life as a producer.
Right.
Hold on, so you're telling me there's no room for social mobility, you're stuck in your lane from the moment you're born.
That's the idea. It's a rigid structure. No real opportunity for social climbing. And to really understand why Plato proposed the noble lie.
We need to grasp this predetermined social hierarchy.
Precisely.
Okay, I'm starting to see where the lie might come in. How did Plato convince people to accept this rigid system?
It was a myth, a two-part myth designed to instill both unity and acceptance.
A myth. Okay, tell me more.
First, he proposed this elaborate story about people being born from the earth, each with a different metal in their souls.
Right, the metal myth we just discussed. What's the second part?
The second part was about unity. Plato claimed that everyone, regardless of their metal,
Was born from the same earth.
exactly, making them all part of one big family.
Interesting. So a shared origin despite the rigid class system.
Yes, and this shared origin meant everyone should work together
For the common good.
for the good of the whole city.
So on one hand, you've got this strict hierarchy, based on this birth lottery. But on the other hand, you're telling everyone they're family and should be united.
Absolutely, that's the heart of it.
It's kind of a paradox, isn't it? A system built on both division and unity.
It is, and that's what's so fascinating about Plato's idea. He wanted people to feel connected to the city, to their role.
To see it not as arbitrary, but as, almost divinely ordained.
For the good of the whole.
Right, like it's their destiny.
Exactly, and this idea of a shared origin.
It's meant to inspire loyalty, cooperation, regardless of your place.
In the social order.
It's like a social contract, you know? You accept your lot in life because you believe it's for the greater good, but I imagine not everyone was totally buying this, right?
You're right to be skeptical. There were critics, even back then.
So what did they say? What were the arguments against this noble lie?
Well, a lot of philosophers have taken issue with it, even if it's intended for a good cause.
Right, even if the goal is harmony.
Exactly.
So let's get into it. What were some of the main criticisms?
One of the biggest.
Deception.
Even if it's for a good cause, a lie is still a lie.
Right. It violates basic principles. Honesty, transparency.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Critics argue that trust is essential for any society. And a system built on deception, it's ultimately unsustainable.
Yeah, I mean, trust is fragile. Once it's broken, it's hard to rebuild.
Exactly.
But it seems like Plato thought the benefits of social harmony outweighed the cost of deception, right? He did. He believed that without a shared belief system, society would descend into chaos.
So it's kind of like a necessary evil.
He actually states, and I'm paraphrasing here, but in the Republic, he says discord in the city begins with discord in the beliefs of its people.
So the noble lie is a way to prevent unrest, ensure stability, like a little deception is a small price to pay.
For a well-functioning society, that's his argument.
Didn't he also say that this system allows for a degree of meritocracy?
That's right. He tried to address the inherent unfairness, the predetermined roles, by claiming that the rulers would still be chosen based on their merit.
Right, based on their merit, not just randomly assigned.
They would be the individuals with the most gold in their souls, those with the greatest capacity for wisdom and justice.
So it's not just a random lottery. Okay.
Really?
But even if the rulers are the most qualified, wouldn't the system still limit individual potential?
That's another major criticism. It limits individual autonomy. By assigning people roles from birth, it prevents them from exploring their full potential, their own aspirations.
It creates a society where individuals are essentially cogs in a machine.
Yes, rather than free agents,
Yeah.
capable of self-determination.
It's like being told you can only play one note on a piano for your entire life, right?
Exactly.
You might be great at playing that one note, but what about all the other melodies?
Right. Critics argue that a society that values individual freedom, encourages personal growth, would be far more dynamic, more prosperous.
Then one based on this rigid social stratification.
Precisely.
Plato's ideas definitely spark a lot of debate about the balance between freedom and societal order.
They do.
But let's shift gears a bit. Fast forward today.
Okay.
Are there any echoes of this noble lie in our modern world?
Absolutely.
Really? I mean, do we still see deception used to maintain order or control?
All the time.
Like how? Give me some examples.
Well, while we don't have a system of metals dictating our lives,
Thank goodness.
the concept is still incredibly relevant. Think about the stories we tell ourselves as nations.
You're talking about things like national myths, propaganda,
Exactly.
stories that maybe gloss over unpleasant truths.
Or paint a flattering picture, more than reality would allow.
All right.
These stories, they often promote unity, patriotism,
Right.
but they can also be used to manipulate, to maintain power structures.
Interesting. So how does that work?
Think about historical narratives that downplay certain events, emphasize others, to create a particular image.
It's like choosing photos for a family album.
Exactly.
You might highlight the happy vacations, but conveniently leave out the awkward holiday gatherings where everyone was arguing.
That's a great analogy. We see this all the time, this selective storytelling. Not just history books, but political campaigns, advertising,
Even social media.
especially social media.
Wow. So when does a narrative designed to inspire and unite cross the line into manipulation?
It's a slippery slope.
It really is, especially in our age of information overload and, fake news. It seems like discerning truth from fiction is harder than ever,
It is, and that's why Plato's noble lie is so relevant.
even though it's an ancient idea.
It forces us to confront this uncomfortable reality, that
Yeah.
deception, even for seemingly good intentions.
Can have far-reaching consequences.
Yes.
So it's not just an abstract philosophical concept. It's something we need to be aware of in our own lives, the way we consume information.
The stories we believe, the choices we make,
Yeah,
as individuals and as a society.
exactly.
Understanding the noble lie, it helps us recognize these subtle ways in which narratives can shape our perceptions.
And influence our actions.
Yes.
It's like a mental toolkit for
right.
navigating a world where truth and deception are often intertwined.
Exactly.
We've talked about national myths, propaganda, but are there other places where we see this, like in everyday life?
Oh, absolutely. Think about situations where information is withheld, maybe for someone's benefit.
You mean like for their own good?
Yeah, like a parent shielding a child from a harsh reality.
Oh, I see. Or a government enacting policies, claiming it's for the greater good.
Right, even if it involves bending the truth a bit.
It's like telling a kid their goldfish went to live on a farm.
Exactly.
When, well, we all know what really happened.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And while the motives might be good, it still raises these questions about honesty.
About the right to make informed decisions.
Right.
It makes you wonder, can a lie ever truly be noble?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
Philosophers have been debating this for centuries.
And there's no easy answer.
Plato, he believed that in some cases, a lie could be okay.
A lie could be okay.
If it was carefully constructed,
Yeah.
implemented by wise rulers, it could bring about stability, prevent societal breakdown.
But we've seen that it comes with some ethical issues.
Definitely.
So it's a risky gamble, isn't it? Who decides what's noble?
That's the thing.
Where's the line between a harmless white lie and a dangerous manipulation?
Those are the crucial questions.
Hmm.
Plato's noble lie, it ultimately serves as a cautionary tale.
A warning.
Be critical thinkers.
Question everything.
Question assumptions. Be wary of anyone who claims to have a monopoly on truth.
Especially those in power.
Exactly.
So even if we don't like the idea of a noble lie for, running a society, it's still valuable to think about.
I think so.
It makes us more aware of how information can be manipulated.
Right. And the importance of seeking out multiple perspectives.
Not just taking things at face value.
Exactly. It's a reminder. Even with good intentions, a system built on deception is inherently fragile.
It can't last.
Truth, even when it's uncomfortable, that's the foundation of a just society, sustainable society.
We've covered a lot of ground today.
We have, from ancient Greece to today.
Any final thoughts? What are some key takeaways you hope listeners will, ponder after this deep dive?
I think the most important takeaway is the power of critical thinking. Plato's noble lie challenges us to question things, question the narratives we're presented with.
Don't just accept what you're told.
Think about the motivations behind those narratives.
Yeah.
Be active in shaping our understanding of the world.
Be an active participant.
Yes.
It's a reminder that truth isn't always simple or straightforward.
It takes work.
We need to engage in dialogue, wrestle with complex ideas, be open to changing our minds.
That's right, when presented with new information.
Exactly.
Plato's ideas, they might be controversial, but they force us to confront these uncomfortable questions about truth, power, a just society.
And those are questions worth thinking about.
Even thousands of years later.
That's the beauty of philosophy, isn't it? It sparks these conversations, these ideas that stay with us long after we've finished reading or listening.
I agree. That's what makes it so fascinating. And that's what we hope we've accomplished today. Planted some seeds of curiosity, encouraged you to question things, and hopefully inspired you to keep exploring.
Keep exploring this complex world of ideas.
Yes.
So, on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into Plato's noble lie.
Great discussions.
But remember, the conversation doesn't end here. Keep those mental gears turning, keep questioning, and keep exploring. Until next time, happy diving.